In the late 18th century, Marie Curie and her husband Pierre Curie were early chemists who discovered uranium and the principles of radioactive decay. And only a few decades later, Ernest Rutherford discovered the nucleus of the atom. He concluded that if these particles of the nucleus could be separated, a great deal of energy could be produced. It would almost be as if we could harness the multitude, power, and energy of 1,000 suns. Grasps our hands. Charge! Go, 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 go! September 1939. Nazi Germany invades Poland and marks the beginning of the Second World War. War prompts new weapons of mass destruction and prompts the US to make some of their own. July 1941. President Franklin Roosevelt authorizes $6,000 for researching the physical properties of uranium. The advisory committee becomes the S-1 project. Despite the gradual efforts to implement the creation of the atomic bomb, the United States was primarily committed only to researching the feasibility of uranium. However, Pearl Harbor. Circumstances have changed dramatically with Japan's brutal attack on the Navy base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The United States have now joined the war as a result. They start to secretly create a bomb in hopes of it being the solution to end the wars, to end all war.
The project was taken on by General Leslie Groves, known for his prior experience in overseeing different construction projects. In order to successfully carry out the Manhattan Project, Groves would first submit the bureaucracy responsible for construction of buildings to himself, following him overseeing the purchase of lands all across the United States.
It is important to take note that before the Manhattan Project, there were pre-existing concepts surrounding nuclear technology, particularly the concept of nuclear chain reaction, researched by Austro-Hungarian physicist Leo Szilard. Long before General Groves and Dr. Hemming took control of the Manhattan Project, Leo Szilard was already committed to exploit the full potential of nuclear energy. Recruiting the help of an Italian-American physicist, Enrico Fermi, the two proved that the possibility of a nuclear reaction is possible. The scientists discovered that nuclear reactions are possible through the fusion of heavy isotopes, specifically uranium. As the fusion process occurs, neutrons slam into large unstable atoms that release new neutrons. The new neutrons collide with other atoms, creating more smaller nuclei which simultaneously release energy. The process can repeat indefinitely to create a domino effect that produces a lot of energy. The scientists at the Manhattan Project have settled down onto two potential methods: the little boy and the fat man. The first simplest method came to be known as the gun-type assembly, also known as the little man. The gun-type assembly, or the little man, was essentially a tube-shaped chunk of uranium that was shot down a barrel. The largest target at the end of the barrel was another chunk of uranium. In the instance that the two masses of uranium would collide, they would initiate a nuclear chain reaction. The implosion device. The implosion device, or known as the Fat Man, contains a sphere of plutonium inside of a shell of high explosives. The sphere of the plutonium by itself cannot start a reaction, the reason being that it is not dense enough, meaning that it could not possibly reach a critical point of energy that would produce a chain reaction. That is where the TNT comes to action. As the explosives surrounding the plutonium get detonated, they compress the plutonium, causing it to reach a critical point of temperature and pressure, and as a result, create another chain reaction.
The Fat Man was finally deployed against Nagasaki on the 9th of August. Observations of the attack were made by a journalist from the New York Times. The sight was a spectacle to watch, and a horror to watch. The accumulating effects of the deployment of the atomic bombs, in addition to declaration of war by the Soviet Union against Japan, pressured it into surrendering. Now, as successful as the bombs were, the United States had to accept the reality that it made itself wide open to the world, as other nations also began to strive to produce atomic bombs of their own. As a result, an uneasy peace arose, one to be known as the Mutually Assured Destruction, or MAD. MAD meant that if one side attacked with nuclear weapons, the other side would soon retaliate, producing in of itself a domino effect, having destroyed both nations, or perhaps the entire world. The Manhattan Project has brought risks that were never present before 1945, from bodily exposure to radioactivity, causing health issues, to the very notion of reliance on nuclear power plants.
The bombs would have a significant impact in the later century, and as Oppenheimer wrote, he created death. He created an item that would be, or could be, the destroyer of worlds.